Hello guys, and welcome back to a more off-the-cuff video, which is coinciding with my normal weekly release, which has already been done now. But now that the news videos are done, I'm not doing the news videos anymore because I feel they kind of lost their purpose after Zero and Asia were officially localized. I now just want to talk more about current events as they happen. And I think this is quite a relevant one because it does concern Trails into Reverie, the latest game in the Trails series. So a little bit of context for you guys who are out of the loop. Of course, Trails into Reverie is going to be releasing in 2023, so about 2 years down the line. But Clouded Leopard Entertainment, who are the localizer of choice for Falcom in the wider Asian markets like Taiwan and Korea and all this, have just released their PC port of Trails into Reverie, or Hajimari no Kiseki. I'll be calling it Trails into Reverie going forward because, well, that is the English name. So they released their PC port on the 25th, and Kiseki, along with the other members of the Zero Field team who did a great job on the overlay program, which I used last year for my PS4 playthrough of Hajimari no Kiseki, Trails into Reverie, that was updated so that it could work with the PC port, so people who didn't want to play on PlayStation 4 now had the option to play on PC as well. Now, regardless of the quality of the port, because I have heard mixed reviews on it, apparently it's not optimized that well, it still gave an option for people to play. And in terms of the overlay program, because of course I have used it as well, when it first came out, it might have actually become more streamlined since that point. It was intuitive, it was brilliant, it worked very well. It was kind of like, what you were doing was you were taking the overlay program and you were putting it on top of your game session. So you would use something like PS Remote Play or a capture card, you would put the spreadsheet over the top, and then you would get something akin to a subtitled experience as you were going through. The only downside to it, and this is nothing against Kiseki or the Zero Field team because they did a fantastic job on this, is the crafts and the augments and customization, because customization is a big part of Trails into Reverie. There's a lot of characters in that game and there's a lot of chopping and changing of setups. The only downside was that the text was still in Japanese, and there was a inbuilt list within the overlay program which allowed you to kind of figure out where everything was. Like, you would have to kind of match up the kanji and the katakana and the hiragana. It might have changed since that point, but that's what I remember doing. But eventually you kind of got used to it, and being fans, you pretty much know what some of the crafts do anyway for the most part, and really it's mainly for people who just wanted to know what the story was or how the narrative unfolds. It's not really for, you know, people who want to play on the harder difficulties, but it worked very well. That was the only real issue I had with it when I used it, but it didn't detract from my experience much at all. So the real issue here is that about 2 days ago there was a Reddit post on the Falcom subreddit stating that there was a Reverie translation project. And on paper it looked very good. This project, what it would do is it would take the spreadsheet and kind of integrate the translation into the PC port of Hajimari no Kiseki, and they would also translate the menus as well, so it would alleviate the weakness that the overlay had in the first place. So it looked great, and rightfully so, it got a lot of support. However, about 24 hours later, or maybe even less than 24 hours, they received a cease and desist from NIS America. A notification of this cease and desist was put up on the Falcom subreddit as well. These guys were basically saying that this is no longer happening anymore because we don't want to get into legal trouble. It's perfectly understandable why they wouldn't want to carry on with it. But obviously now people are making opinions on it based upon what has happened. So when I personally look at this, I think to myself that NIS America are fully within their rights to do what they did, because regardless of international law or anything like that, they're the ones who hold that copyright. Now, some people will probably ask, why did this not happen with the Zero and Asia patches? The key difference here is that when the Geofront were working on Zero and Asia, there were no official announcements. There was no official announcement for Zero and Asia at that point in time. Now, I am not a member of the Geofront team, I don't really talk to anyone on the Geofront team, I'm simply a person, like many people watching here, who are kind of looking on the outside in. But I would imagine if an official announcement was made and the Geofront hadn't finished their project at that point in time, whether it be halfway through Zero or halfway through Asia, they would have had a contingency in place to remove those ports. or not remove those ports, sorry, remove those translation patches. Because at that point, once a company takes on the project, it becomes a legal issue. I mean, I can't speak for that team, maybe they didn't, but I imagine they probably would have had something to just remove everything. And to a point, it did kind of happen. It wasn't a cease and desist, but the Zero and Azure patches, as soon as the official partnership between Geofront and NIS America was made public, the Zero and Azure patches were taken down, and they asked people who were already in possession of those patches not to distribute them, because obviously now it is NIS America's property, it is their right to publish these games in English in the West. The difference here with Trails into Reverie is that we already had an official announcement. The announcement was done, it was finished, and that's where the issue lies. Like, the thing is that the overlay, the actual overlay created by the Zero Field team, was never really a problem. And if it was a problem, we probably would have heard a cease and desist a while back. But it's not a problem because it's not actually affecting the game per se. It's just a program which goes on top of the play session. So it's not actually putting English text into the game. This project, on the other hand, was doing that. It was putting English text into the PC port, and of course, that is where the real issue lies, and that is where the cease and desist stem from. So, it really sucked that these guys had to stop the project almost immediately, but, you know, NIS America are within their rights, we just have to accept it. I understand that it's a long time to wait, 2 years, but that's just the way it is. We just gotta get on with it. But then, you know, the responses come out, the opinions start coming out, and the more I look at them, the more I think to myself, wow, like, NIS America just can't win. They really can't win at times. I mean, you've got people saying, like, it's bad PR, you've got some people saying that they're going to pirate the games going forward, and, you know, it just came off as entitled to me, because for the longest time, at least when I was doing the news videos, for example, people were pining for those official Zero and Azure ports. Every single time I reported on an update from the Geofront team, who did an excellent job, by the way, every time I reported on that, there was always maybe like 10 comments or something along those lines, which would say, oh, I don't want the patch, I just want official localizations. And then NIS America come out with official localizations, and then those same people are saying, oh no, that's too long. Like, what do you want? What do you actually want? I mean, it's 4 games. 4 games being localized in less than 2 years. And you can say that they already have the Zero and Azure patch from the Geofront, but they're still working basically from scratch. They just have a very good reference material in that patch. It's not like they're literally taking the patch and plonking it straight into an official port. No, they're working from basically zero with the assistance of the Geofront team. And the reason why I say it comes off as entitled, and also quite selfish, is that a lot of people have not played Zero and Azure, even when the Geofront patch was up. Whether they didn't have the means to, because they didn't have a PC, which could obviously run the PC port, or they didn't want to use the patch because they wanted to support official releases, which is perfectly fine. But it seems like this kind of, oh, I've done what I need to do now, I don't care about you guys, I just want Trails into Reverie, and if I don't get Trails into Reverie, I've been let down and I don't like NIS America. It feels just so, you know, wrong and sleazy. You know, when I look at it now, it seems like the best time to be a Trails fan, because regardless of the wait, which I admit sucks, it does suck that we do have to wait a while, we're still getting them. They're coming officially to the West. These are things that we never expected to happen. I wasn't in the fandom when First Chapter was the only officially localized game, and there was a real possibility at that time that it was the only localized game that would be there. You know, there was a good chance that Second Chapter would never come, but it only came because of some really dedicated individuals at Xseed. And then, of course, we got Skylar 3rd, we got Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then the series has just gone from strength to strength. It's never been better to be a Trails fan, because now you can easily play, well, I say easily play, you can at least play Trails in the Sky on PC, and then you can play all of the Cold Steel games as well, Cold Steel 1, 2, 3 and 4. As for Crossbell, they're coming next year, 2020, or probably early 2023 for Azure. And to say that this is a really bad PR move and that NIS America should just work harder, comes off as completely ridiculous to me. Completely ridiculous, because not only are they working on 4 games, we don't know what they're working on. Well, I mean, we already know what some of the games they're already working on before these announcements were made. There was the Caligula Effect 2, they've got Monarch due for early release in 2022. I mean, I feel that some of these people who are complaining, and I'm saying it again, it's a vocal minority, the vast majority of people within the fandom are pretty good. I'm talking about this vocal minority who don't seem to grasp this idea that translating games takes a very long time. It does take a long time, regardless of the reference material you already have. And the fact is, we're getting 4 games in 2 years. Like, I've never translated a game. I don't have the ability to do it, but I strongly respect the people who do it, because I realise it takes a lot of effort, but I feel like the people who are complaining at times aren't happy unless these people are working 24/7 localizing the games and just burning themselves out. You have to understand these people are humans as well, with very limited resources and with projects already ongoing outside of Trails. And I say to them, if they're really so up in arms about it, then do something about it. Learn Japanese, learn another language, learn how to code or whatever. You know, be the change rather than moaning about it. And the thing is, in regards to this idea that NIS America are only in it for the money, of course they want the money. Of course they do. That's the whole point of these localization projects, that they have to be profitable. But you can argue Falcom's influence here, but really, NIS America never had to pick up Zero and Asia. You can argue, of course, again, that a lot of the work was done by the Geofront team, and arguably, as well, we never would have got this if not for the work of the Geofront team. I can understand people calling them out at times, people being frustrated with the wait. I can understand that, okay? I can empathise with that. But NIS America are doing this for the benefit of the fandom. You know, of course they're going to be doing well for themselves off of this, you would like to think so at least, but the point is, without NIS America, we wouldn't have these games. We wouldn't be able to talk about them. We wouldn't be able to be up in arms about official announcements, because likely they probably would have never happened anyway. So, NIS America are doing such a good thing for the fandom, and regardless of their history, regardless of some other, you know, shady practices, which I will admit they do sometimes, and I have called them out for it before, like the raising of E8's price to $60 again, I always will respect them for what they have done for the series. I always will, and I think they've done a very good job on the games that they have released, and I imagine they're going to do exactly the same for Zero, Asia, Nayata, and Hajimari, or Trails into Reverie. I'm still not used to saying that yet. So I think, really, we just need to have a bit more perspective here. We really need to have a bit more perspective. Like, the people who are working on these projects are human, guys. Come on. They are human. They've got their own lives outside of work. They cannot just be sat down 24/7 at a desk translating Japanese to English to satiate your obsession with Trails. I mean, sometimes I read some of the comments on my videos and I think, wow, this guy's going to dissolve into the ether if he doesn't play Trails. It's odd. I mean, are you physically barred off from playing other JRPGs? I'm personally very happy that there are other games that I can play now. I mean, regardless of my love for the series, and I do love the series, I can dedicate more time to other games on my backlog that I want to play, outside of Trails, like Scarlet Nexus and Dragon Quest XI and Shin Megami Tensei 5, the Nocturne remaster, which I'm playing right now. I'm happy to have that time to play something different once in a while. I understand that people love this series, and they want to play it as soon as possible, but to blame the company that are doing the localization for you, to blame the company that is making this a possibility and doing a huge favour for the fandom in doing so, it just comes off as selfish and entitled. And I'm certain that this video is probably going to anger those people, but I'm going to say it as it is because it is ridiculous to witness at times. And as for the individual or individuals who were working on this project, who obviously got the cease and desist, this is more a message to this bloke directly. I mean, I've never talked to you, but I imagine that you were doing it purely out of a love for the series. I have huge respect for fan translators like yourself who take time out of their own day for no profit, no material gain, and just do it because you love this series so much, and I have huge respect for you. It is unfortunate that it happened, but on the plus side, I know it sounds a bit bittersweet, but it's probably best that it happened now, that it happened so quickly, because imagine working like 3 to 6 months on this and then suddenly get the cease and desist there. That would have sucked. Keep your head up, man. You have the right intentions. If you ever choose to put your talents to something else, I'll definitely look into it. I really was looking forward to this Reverie project, this translation project. It is unfortunate how it ended, but keep your chin up, man. You've got the talent, you've obviously got the drive as well and the conviction, just, move on to the next thing. Anyway guys, that is all I'm going to be talking about on this one. I realise that this is quite different from many videos that I normally do, but in this case I felt it had to be mentioned because it is quite a relevant topic. So I will see you guys, well, probably tomorrow again, because I have got another video coming up with a good friend of mine, so I hope to see you there.